Please.
We are live, Julan.
Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to this session of our Let Us Talk It webinar. We call it ZIPINAR because we try to zip in as much information, as much quality speakers that we have in the 1 hour that we ask you to spend with us. Today, it has been a technical glitch and we are a little late to start. All our apologies for that. I'll not take much of the time because we have two extraordinary speakers who have done their job as a successful speaker. So we want them to speak more. And with the first speaker, the first topic is business ethics and morality, which is, I think, the most important part to have a business, carry on with it and be successful or not be successful. So we have Nalin Chandna, and he's the CEO, board director, author, TEDx speaker, leadership coach, trainer, mentor, and inspirational speaker. And the most important part, I would say, his calmness. Just trust me, there was a technical glitch. I'm freaking out, everything, but there are two speakers today. Nalin and Sandhya, they are like calm, and I can add to it that maybe made him so successful. So if you want to know more, please join in the Zoom link and ask him question as much as you can. Ask Sandhya how she does that cool stuff, what I understood while talking to them. And the best part in LinkedIn, which I saw, and I want to mention about Nalin, he writes, everything rises and falls on leadership. So that's very, very true. You can be a leader one day, not that leader next day. Maybe that's the spirit, and he knows how to handle that. Absolute honor to have you both. Over to you, Nalin.
Thank you so much, Lan. Thank you so much for the kind words. And thank you for inviting me over to this session today. A big hello and a very warm welcome to our lovely audience joining us from various different time zones across different geographies here today. Namaskar, salam alaikum, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. I believe time is the most valuable resource that anyone can have. And you all sitting in and listening to me today have given me the gift of your time. I'm really grateful for this gift, and I hope that you derive value in this session. The world has witnessed unprecedented turn of events in the recent past when an invisible virus had brought the world to a standstill. The dynamics of businesses have significantly changed in the last 2 years or so, more than what would have changed in perhaps the past 20 years. While technology has really led the way, becoming a critical business enabler for organizations to continue delivering on their business KPIs, many businesses are still struggling. And in fact, many small businesses have either closed down or are actually on the brink of closure. The new normal is a constantly evolving scenario which requires us to be all the more agile, more aware, more adaptable, and more proactive. I've had the good fortune of addressing many educational institutions and corporate organizations across geographies in Asia, Europe, and Africa in the past 2 years, especially because it was online. I've seen a lot of anxiety amongst the audience caused by the uncertainty that surrounded us. Now, while things are now improving significantly and we are seeing the world reopening, pressures still remain on organizations to perform, deliver, and grow. We have to be all the more conscious of the fact that problems and challenges, whenever they face us, they make us better, stronger, and wiser. Our problems are all learning opportunities, but many a times we get succumbed to such pressures. And that's when many a times we get into ethical dilemmas. The topic for our webinar today is business ethics and morality. This gains all the more importance in times that we are in. When we are trying to recover from the pandemic, everybody has got pressure to deliver back into the normal. If you search on the internet for business ethics, in less than a second, Google will give you more than 350 million results. Morality will give you more than 250 million results. And similarly, searching for corporate frauds would give you a list of more than 900 million items. Such is the content available on the internet on these topics, which though are very simple topics, yet get very complex in their own way. In fact, if you ask me, I would say there's no such thing as business ethics. There's only ethics. You can't be an unethical person and be correct on business ethics, and vice versa. Ethics is ethics. If you desire to be ethical, you live it by one standard across the board. You consider yourself as the CEO of your own life, Chief Executive Officer of your own life. Consider your life as an organization, like a company or an institution which has a vision, a mission, a plan. Similarly, you need to have your vision, your mission, your priorities for your life. Where do you want to reach in life? What is your vision? What is your plan? What are your goals? What are your values? What does success mean to you? What kind of a legacy you want to write? Do you want to be seen as a person of value, ethics, integrity, and character by your friends, colleagues, family, children, etc.? It is a choice no one else can make, but you can make for yourself. Gone are the days when job security is what people cared for. Today's time is different. Employability is what we need to strive for today. When we are employable, we are not afraid of retaining our current jobs. It happens automatically. Even if we lose a job, it is much easier to find another one. But to be employable, I would say the most important trait that enhances your employability. What is that? It's not your academic qualifications. Yes, it does count, but not what I'm talking about. Your attitude and initiative, yes, it does matter, but not what I am referring to. Talent, surely it is important, but that's not what I'm referring again. What I am referring to is your character, your integrity, the trust that you build with people, the trust that gives people the confidence that this is the person we need to work with. This is the person who can be relied upon with confidential information, with confidential discussions and transactions. Because trust is the foundation of any relationship. I repeat, trust is the foundation of any relationship, whether personal, professional, or social. Trust is the glue that holds people together. So, this is what business ethics or ethics as such is all about. When you work on building trust, you are working on a solid foundation of ethics. Just imagine when you're facing a problem in your life, the first person you want to reach out to is a person you trust. Am I right or wrong? It is the person who has demonstrated ethical behavior in the past. That person who you are reaching out in times of trouble is a person of character and integrity. One you believe will not backstab you, and one who will not gossip behind you. Our life is all about making choices, and we become what choices we make. We have got tremendous power of making choices on a daily basis. Right from the time we wake up in the morning till the time we go off to sleep at night, we are the result of the choices we make day in, day out. What brand of toothpaste we choose, what food we eat, what clothes we wear, what phone we use, which bank we bank with, which cafe we go for coffee, what social media platform we prefer, what brand of refrigerator we use, what car we drive, what restaurant we go for dinner, what friends we hang out with. It's all about the choices we make. And our quality of life determines on the quality of choices we make. You know the benefits that the power of making a choice are immense. It demonstrates that we have freedom. Making a choice means we have freedom, freedom to choose what we want. It demonstrates that we have full control on our life. It also demonstrates that by making the right choices, we have all the possibility of reaching our potential. We can change the direction of our life by making the right choices. Not making a choice is also a choice that we make. Everything in our lives is a reflection of the choices we have made in the past. You are sitting here today in this session because you chose to attend it. So treasure this gift of choice and always be conscious that you are making choices every moment. Make the right choices. Obviously, what you can't choose is your birth, your parents, your race, your religion, your personality type, your genetic makeup, etc. Being ethical is not something that we don't want to be. Everybody wants to be ethical. But there is an ethical dilemma that people get into. We do what's most convenient. Most of the time, we want to do the easy thing rather than the right thing. As human beings, we seem prone to failing personal ethics tests. Why do we do something even when we know it's wrong? Do we cheat because we think we won't get caught? Do we give ourselves permission to cut corners because we rationalize that it's just one time? Is this our way of dealing with pressure? I think most people like to win and hate to lose. Businesses, in particular, desire to win through achievement and success. There is nothing wrong in this approach. However, many people think that they have to choose between being ethical and winning, which is not the right approach. And that's where business ethics and morality come into play. Many people believe that embracing ethics would limit their options, their opportunities, their very ability to succeed in business. Most of the times, it's not the money itself that draws people across the line ethically. It's what they can get with it. They want the power that money can bring, whether it's power over people or over circumstances, or they want the pleasures that can be bought with that money, or they take pride in the prestige of possessions. Everyone is susceptible to some kind of temptation, but there is a greater satisfaction that comes from not crossing the line. Most organizations and CEOs who ruined their careers and destroyed their companies in the recent years hadn't done the ethical groundwork before attaining power. Their weak character prompted them to make bad decisions. And with each poor choice, they got into deeper trouble. Why is it that people choose to cut corners? I think it is because they lack discipline. People who fail to develop personal discipline are often tempted to cheat to keep it up. I'll give you an example. Imagine yourself at a birthday party. The entire party hall has been beautifully decorated by a large number of balloons. Just imagine that. The balloon decoration looks awesome with all the different colored balloons. It looks awesome because the balloons are fully blown with the air inside. Now, if the balloons were not blown with air, would they look any good? Would they serve any purpose? Would the decoration look any good if the birthday party hall had these unblown balloons hanging here and there? You probably wouldn't even have noticed them if that was the case. So essentially, the inside of the balloon determines what the outside looks like. Exactly the same is true for our character. What is on the inside of us determines what we become on the outside. Being bigger on the inside determines your character is greater than your reputation. I repeat this. Your character is greater than your reputation. Reputation is what people think you are. Character is what you actually are. And that is more important. Your walk speaks louder than your talk. Your attitude is better than your circumstances. That is what character is all about. You do what you ought to do versus what you want to do. That is what character is all about. Your talent is a gift that you have. Your character is a choice that you make. Your character ultimately determines the level of your success because people cannot rise above the limitations of their character. Having learned this principle in life, it is important to understand the concept of ethics, or for that matter, business ethics. Something which is right for someone may not be the real right. Integrity or being ethical is about choosing your thoughts and actions based on values rather than personal gain. Choosing your thoughts and actions based on values rather than personal gain. Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Your character traits, good or bad, are always revealed in a crisis. At a very simple level to start with, it is about keeping your promises, paying for something the cashier forgot to bill you. We may feel happy that the cashier forgot to scan a particular item and you got it for free. Remember, the cashier may have to pay for it from his or her salary, or may even lose his or her job. Being ethical is also about not getting into needless gossip. It is about not getting into blame games and being courageous to take responsibility for your actions. We will always have excuses and we will always have opportunities to blame others. We will always have our parents, bosses, spouses, siblings, traffic, weather, economy, corona to blame. Rather than blaming others, see what you can do. Mindset change has to happen in you. Do what is right. Our mindset has to be right. We cannot blame others for the mistakes we commit. The same person who cheats on his taxes or steals office supplies wants honesty and integrity from the company whose shares he invests in, or the politician he votes for, and the client he deals with in his own business. Being ethical is about keeping your promises, even if it takes the extra effort. Yeah. Because mistakes in ability can be forgiven, but character lapses are lethal. Wrong is wrong, even if everyone is doing it, and right is right, even if no one is doing it. There are millions of examples you can find on corporate frauds where decision makers made compromises to attain short-term gains. Yeah, short-term gains. Because sooner or later, wrong decisions with a malified intent do come back and backfire on us. I've personally been through various incidents in my corporate career. In one of my jobs, it surfaced that a senior manager had obtained a significant value export order through wrongful means. For many years, the export order continued and brought significant impact to the bottom line of the organization. But when it all surfaced, the senior manager was immediately terminated, went into a legal battle, served imprisonment, had to pay fines. And then when the contract came for renewal, it wasn't renewed. We chose not to commit to the wrongful expectations again. Obviously, we lost the order, which resulted in a negative impact of millions of dollars. However, we chose to do what was right. In another incident, two of our employees driving two different cars returning from an office party under the influence of alcohol had an accident. The manager, trying to save the employees and to avoid the police inquiry and to avail the insurance benefits, swapped these two employees with two different employees. The police came to the site, made out a clean report, and an insurance claim was registered, and the insurance company was ready to pay out the claim value. I came to know of the whole thing. The manager was obviously reprimanded for hiding the facts. The company proactively approached the police department and conveyed the real facts. The insurance company took back the approval granted. Our company, though was initially seen as losing credibility, was later on commended for its transparency. The wrongful employees were let go of by the police after strict warning due to the company's proactive transparency. We did not get the insurance money, but we did gain peaceful sleep at night. After all, what value is there in the money and power gained if your conscience does not let you sleep peacefully at night? I'm sure all of you would have heard of companies like Enron, one of the hottest companies in the blooming 90s. Enron admitted to using accounting practices that had inflated its income figures by close to 600 million US dollars over a 4-year period. A month later of this admission, the company filed for bankruptcy. A criminal investigation was launched into the company's practices. Employees' retirement savings were completely eroded. Millions of investors lost billions of dollars. Another big name scandal, WorldCom underreported line costs by capitalizing rather than expensing costs. And they inflated revenues with fake accounting entries. The CFO was fired, the controller resigned, and the company filed for bankruptcy. The CEO of the company was sentenced for 25 years for fraud, conspiracy, and filing false documents with the regulators. 30,000 employees lost their jobs. Investors lost $180 billion. There are numerous examples like this: Lehman Brothers, Satyam Computers, Tyco, Adelphia, etc., to name a few. On the other hand, there are many, many good examples as well, where companies and officials have demonstrated exemplary integrity and character. Not everything is going wrong in the world. Actually, there are more good people than bad people. There are much more good people in the world than the small proportion of not so good people. In 1982, an unknown criminal had laced a drug called Tylenol, a Johnson & Johnson product, over-the-counter painkiller tablet with cyanide, and he placed the bottles back on the shelf to be purchased by the public. This led to 7 people dying in the Chicago area in the United States. Tylenol, that had a market share of around 35% in that segment, took an immediate dip to 8%. Johnson & Johnson, demonstrating exceptional integrity, immediately recalled the entire lot of the product, and not just choosing to withdraw the product from the Chicago area. The company incurred huge losses of millions of dollars, but chose to do what was right. The authorities and the public appreciated the company's actions, and Johnson & Johnson was back at similar market share levels in about a year and became a much more credible company. We all know Johnson & Johnson, right? Numerous organizations in my own country, India, Tata Group, Ambuja Cements, Infosys, Mahindra & Mahindra, ITC, etc., are doing tremendous work to add value to the society with the support initiatives and have displayed impeccable integrity, character, and substance to give back to the society that they are part of. You all might have heard of Jim Collins, the author of Built to Last and Good to Great. He has done extensive research into what makes companies highly successful. When he was asked about his research, he replied, "Our research points to one essential element in any successful company. Those that are the best have built a set of core values and have lived by them. The same is actually true for individuals too." The bottom line on ethics is this: companies that are dedicated to doing the right thing, have a written commitment to social responsibility, and act on it consistently, are more profitable than those who don't. What we need to understand is that everything worthwhile is uphill. Everything worthwhile is uphill. If you want to get fitter, you need to work hard. If you want to earn more, you have to work hard, work smarter. You have to think of different avenues. If you want to make time to spend with your family, you have to make for it. You'll have struggle because you've got office commitments here and there, social commitments. So everything worthwhile is uphill. If your environment is not taking you uphill, you are not in the right environment. If your organization is not ethically correct, it is not the right organization for you. It doesn't mean that if you're thirsty, you have to drink poison to quench your thirst. You still need water. Don't look at short-term gains ever. The change has to come within us. Thank you so much for your patience listening to me today, and many thanks for having me here on this esteemed forum, addressing this wonderful audience. I'm happy to take any questions that any of the audience members may have. I would like to end with a simple but thought-provoking statement. Doing the right thing may not always be easy, but remember, it is always right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Many thanks as well for being with us today, Nalin. That was really a very inspirational and motivational talk you have given. Like it's something like myself may have forgotten in some cases. Like yeah, it is true. Short time gains is not really a good fit. It's not take you a long way. Now let's
Right.
hear from more
Absolutely.
audiences. Yeah, if they have questions or wanted to share their insights as well.
Sure.
Anyone would like to ask, please feel free to open your mic, or you can put it in the chat. Okay, since I'm not seeing anything yet, you can just, oh yeah, we have here Kaja, a very inspirational and thought-provoking session. A reminder is always important as we enter a new era, living alongside COVID. Many things. Thank you as well,
Thank you so
Kaja.
much, Kajal.
Now, for further questions, you may put it in the chat box or the Q&A section if you wish to interact while we have the second topic ongoing for today. And this is very interesting as well because we have an Indian Navy veteran, a TEDx speaker, and an ever-evolving motivational speaker. So she is Sandhya Suri, change enabler, head HR and communication at Tesla Power USA, an author, a poet, an inspirational thought leader, a speaker, a marketing PR and communication specialist. So let's hear the topic. Anyone can be a change enabler from Sandhya Suri. Take over, please. You're on mute, Sandhya.
Thank you so much, Anthony. And, everyone who's managed to drag me to this amazing session. Nalin, you were really spot on about so many things. So I'm not going to repeat that in what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about stuff that is very, very basic. When I was growing up, my father, for, whatever effort he put in terms of helping me grow as a human being, the first thing he ever told me when I, got really upset about not being treated as an equal was, he told me, he says, never let anyone tell you what you can or cannot do. So that is what I can start the session with, because this always hits home. And I always talk about how empowering it is to even have your parent tell you this once in your life. And I think that is what sticks to you and takes you along to transform yourself and thereby transforming people around you. So in terms of my journey and in terms of how did this change enabling take place? most people, when they ask me, what do you do? A couple of years ago, I started saying, I have fun. And they're like, wow. So the whole point is that the amount of stuff I've done in my life has been very haphazard for most people who like structure, for a lot of people who like a certain trajectory into who they want to be or what they want to become. And for me, that trajectory has been like a total spin, because there's so much in this world to see and experience. And in terms of going along that path, there were a few things that I'm really passionate about. And that's what has helped me become a change enabler. I'm passionate about writing. I use it to express my emotional distress. So yeah, that keeps me sane. And the next part of it is about art, which basically brings me to my Zen place. I will get back to that because that's a very integral part of how you change yourself, how you change your perspective in life. And the third part, which I'm really passionate about, is a mix of photography and hugely travel. So one of my favorite authors, Maya Angelou, what an amazing poet she is. And she said, I'm going to read this quote out to you so that I don't skip a single word of it because it's really important. She said, perhaps travel cannot prevent bigotry, but by demonstrating that all people cry, laugh, eat, worry, and die, it can introduce the idea that if we try and understand each other, we may even become friends. So good day to you all. I'm Sandhya, and I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today in this session. And I'm going to take this further into saying, whatever we speak today, I would love to have an interactive audience. I think it just is very, very integral to how we impact the world around us. And so I'm hoping, like I have with Nalin talking, a while ago, I had a lot of takeaways. I had a lot of reminders. I had a lot of ideas on how to integrate that into what I do in terms of, enabling change. And also, it's a moment of decision making. When you meet someone, if you don't have any of these four things, it usually is a useless conversation. So hold that thought there. That's the takeaway I'm looking at, and that's the takeaway I hope you find in what I'm speaking about. The crux of change enabling lies in the fact that you need to be able to find your purpose in life. I have been in environments, I've worked in environments where there was constant change. Things weren't in the best of structure. Not that I was trying to put structure into it, but it made a difference to me as a person if I made a difference to someone. And for that, you don't really need to have a lot of money in your bank account or, be really a celebrity to impact change. Change and impact is inevitable as death. It will happen. It is the intent and decision to create it that is yours. And that intent can belong to anyone. For example, during the time of, we keep going back to the time of COVID because that's when I think the world just flipped a switch. And in terms of whatever happens thereafter, a lot of filters, came out, and you could see what made sense and what did not make sense. In terms of change enabling, I thought a lot about what gives me purpose. And I would keep coming back to the point that I need to make a difference. And how do you make a difference in an environment which is constantly now in so much of pain, so much of sorrow, grief, strife, a lot of anger as well, a lot of frustration. And in this entire period, engaging an audience online, because virtuals become a reality, although every single time I get stuck, I always go back to the basics of emotion, basics of who you are as a person, basics of things you've learned as a child, basics of basic compassion and kindness. And when you start looking for that purpose in your life, I found a lot of reasoning in the way the philosophy of Ikigai works, the Japanese philosophy, where you need to have a certain skill set. You need to be able to be passionate about what you have and what you want to do in your life. It needs to get you money, but that's not really enough. It will get you enough money maybe to survive. It may get you money enough to be comfortable. It may get you money to be absolutely rich, like really, really rich. Now, in all of this, the whole point of it is it's not going to complete you as a person. It was not completing me as a person to go around doing things the way the world wanted it to work most of the time. So there was a lot of introspection that went into it, a lot of questioning about what am I doing and how am I supposed to be doing this? And because I'm a chaotic person, which you could have figured out by now, because I am flipping it here and there everywhere, because these are things that in my head connects up. So I can be very awkward. You've been forewarned. But the whole point of it is that when you flip that switch, that flip happens when you find your purpose in life. And for me, I felt the way people connected through my writing, because they share a certain kind of pain or they share a certain kind of emotion that they feel they can reach out to you and talk to you. So it's easy to find someone to talk to, yeah, for a normal conversation. It's really difficult to find someone who will listen and not judge you. So coming from a place of judgment, I don't judge people on a personal level, but I do judge things on a macro level. So these two things are very, very segregated. But beyond that, I think everybody's purpose in life eventually balances on what you're really skilled at and you're passionate about. Because when you do that, it's going to be the best thing you will do. So money will automatically come. But how is it impacting the world? How is it impacting the community around you? That is really, really important. And the impact will not come because you've been through darkness and come out to the other side. That's not where the impact will come. The impact will come when you stop being scared of that light that you come to and start growing with it and being able to spread that light around. And it doesn't take much. It just needs one good thing that you do in your daily routine. One good thing. It could be feeding a kid. It could be even being kind to somebody. But change happens when you mirror, when the world around you begins to mirror what you want out of it. But that doesn't come until you initiate it, right? So like I said, it's the intent and the decision to create it. That's yours. So change enabling for me came from the fact that I stopped measuring success. Nalin spoke about success a while ago, and how you define success. How do you define what is important to you? For me personally, success is ticking off things from my bucket list of things to do before I die. Okay, so that's basically it. So I don't get very excited about somebody putting me on a pedestal for things. I would rather just, be sitting on the ground, having a conversation and seeing where it goes, which is basically a big hint to all of you that I would love to have an engaging, interactive audience for the next part of whatever I'm going to be speaking about. And, I would love to have that interaction. So please start putting in your questions, or, Phil can work out the managing part of it. But change enabling will not happen if I'm the only one doing the talking. So if you have questions, I'd be welcoming them, and I would love to interact with each of you. Thank you. I'm done speaking for now until I have questions.
Yes, do not be shy to unmute, or you can just type it if you don't want to talk. I'll do it for you if you wish.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sandhya. And sorry, I could not unmute at the other time. But Nalin, that was a fantastic session. So Sandhya, regarding a great session by you on the change enablement. So would you like to provide any example in a corporate world about some of the basic principles that you mentioned?
In in the corporate sector, the segment that I work in, when I walk into an organization, what happens is the organization just wonders who's this person and what's this person going to do. So I come across as somebody who's unapproachable, possibly, yes, because of probably the way I carry myself in a very military manner. But then apart from that, I think if you are proud of what you do, if you have your self-esteem intact despite everything, you will walk tall anyway. So that's one part of it. But in terms of change enablement in organizations, the point is that you are right in the center of a total hurricane, because you've got to now start building on the change and strategizing it top level and the level where the team exists. Change is very, very scary for almost everyone I've come across. People are resistant to change. The ones who get hit the hardest are the ones who are resistant to change. And, you know, my personal recommendation for a book to read for you, all of you, if you really want to understand how change impacts you, is to read Who Moved My Cheese? And then you can upgrade yourself to I Moved Your Cheese. These two are brilliant books in their own perspectives, and they work brilliantly. The other book I would recommend is Gung Ho. Both these books, Who Moved My Cheese and Gung Ho, can actually be used in learning and development to be able to understand change, how people react to change, what are the kinds of people, what are their profiles like. So it's like being right in the center of a seesaw and trying to balance things, because change here it's messy. It's hard at first, but it gets really, really messy in the middle, where nobody understands what's going on. They don't know who to trust. They don't know who to, rely on. And most of the time, these are, these are spaces where you've started with trusting a person, and now you're being asked to trust an entire process in a system, and align yourself and get agile. Like Nalin said, agility is so important, but agility has its own definitions and perspectives. So being agile to something that is good for the growth of the organization, it is always a swamp kind of a place where nobody wants to move at the pace you want them to move, and you really want them to move to the other side. And you're trying really hard to tell them that, hey, it's going to be gorgeous at the end. And nobody sees it until you hit that end. So the whole point of holding and taking people along is a very tricky space. I'm not perfect. I have my own tough days and good days, and most of the time those good days come with little wins that are adding to the kitty of making it a great organization. So that is what we're working on.
Yeah, definitely. And such a philosophy should really start with the management level in the corporate organizations, or probably the corporate HR practices. I think it should really at a level of the framework, so that all the employees who are exercising or who are part of that ecosystem can really live up to it.
That's so true, because if you want people to commit to change, you have to involve them. If you don't involve them, they won't commit. And commitment is such a huge ask. And if people don't feel that they're being a part of that growth, or contributing to that part of growth in the bigger picture of things, then it becomes very different, very, very tough. And let me give you an example, a very simple example. There's a bricklayer who's laying bricks, right? There are two people working side by side probably. And you ask one person, he says, hey, what are you doing? He's like, can't you see I'm laying bricks? And that's his perspective of his work. This is a job. It becomes a job. Now, when you're looking at another person and you're asking me, hey, what are you doing? He says, I'm building a church. Now, when you say something like that, your perspective is bigger. Your perspective is way bigger than what your work is. And that dignity of every assignment is important in the organization. It's a wheel, so it has to work in every possible area. So I find it very, sad sometimes to see people will treat people beneath them just because their salary is lower, or they're doing something that they wouldn't touch even with a barge pole. But someone's got to do the job, and it is work. It is bringing food to the table. It is important, and it has all due respect. So that is an important part. And most people, when they don't see it that way, it's a very tough thing to crack at the organizational level. But I think, change enabling is part of that, to be able to ask people to trust the system, trust that first, and don't spend time, worrying about it, because the more time you're spending worrying about it, you're spending you're investing your time that you could have used productively into just worrying. So if you start using it productively, then it works differently.
Yeah, a great example that you told about laying a brick. Now I will ask a simple or a tricky question, which is the change enablement in a family. Everything starts with a family. And sometimes in order for you to function, you always need a supporting system, your own family, and you may need change within the family also. So you want to quote any examples or anything around that?
I'm the last person. I'm like the black sheep of the family, literally, because I'm a maverick. There's no other word to describe it. Totally bohemian most of the time. And most family members who I speak to are at very huge gaps. And when they call me, the first question is, where are you and what are you doing? Because I move a lot. I have moved. This is my 75th apartment I've moved into. And I'm not yet 50, at least not for another month. So you can imagine that's the amount I've moved. And that's the amount of crazy things I've done in my life. So when you're talking about change enablement, I think I just, when I was growing up, I thought, let me just do it for myself first. It's important to do that. Why? Because the only person who stood and had my back right from the time I was born until this very moment is me. That's the first part. I have to love myself. I have to be friends with myself. And when you love somebody and when you're friends with them, you respect them and you respect and give them the time and attention that they require, to give them their due. So I've not had a very easy childhood, I would say. I'm also a survivor. I've got a lot of things going on, right? But in this entire process of my experiences, there was a mental note that was always happening in my head. This is not what I would do when I grow up as a parent. This is not what I would do to demean myself or to ensure that my daughter learns this properly. I have a daughter, she's 22. And that is where parenting is so important, to bring about that change. And parenting is not just providing a roof over the head for the child or providing them with gadgets, which I see a lot happening now. One little fuss and, oh, yeah, you go and, you do what you want to. But that's not parenting. Parenting is about ensuring that the child has a mind of their own. They have self-esteem, which is strong enough to withstand the onslaught of what's going to come when you become an adult. It's very important. They have to be able to think for themselves. They have to be able to reason right. And reasoning right, being ethical, like Nalin talked about, that doesn't happen when you become an adult. It has to come right from the beginning. The habit of not littering, for example, it's change. I taught her not to litter, but then I learned it from a teacher, right? So we've all learned it. So the good things, if you carry it forward, but you have to apply it. Once you apply it, then it works. Like I said, I'm not saying I'm a saint. Trust me, I'm not one. But in terms of parenting, I've been blessed. I've been blessed to have a child who kind of manages me, manages the person I am, and beautifully so. And that's given us that space of respect. So we've learned consent. We've learned how to respect somebody's privacy. We've learned to ask before we even pick up something that doesn't belong to you. If you're asking, hey, can I move this here? You will ask first and do it. And that's so important, because consent is one of the most abused things in the world. And if that stopped, I think a whole load of issues would stop. And that starts with nurturing properly at home. That's very important.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing a few words in that direction as well.
I didn't think that was a few words, though. That was a whole lot of very random statements.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank
I'll
you.
probably over to any other questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Srini.
It was wonderful. Thank you. Now, yeah, for the other ones who is in the session, would like to share a few words. Yeah, we have Kija, if you want to interact.
Yeah, hi, thank you so much. This was my first time attending the session, and it was very beautiful. And thank you for sharing inner thoughts. I really liked it. Both the speakers were very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kajal. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, yes, as Srini said, this is a very powerful session, and I'm not seeing any other questions. And yeah, we have just passed the mark of the an hour session. It was really not fully an hour because of the glitches, but yeah, that's totally fine because we have great speakers that made this situation calm. All right, so for any other things, yeah, we are really honored and very felt great to have both of the speakers today with this session with such wonderful and motivational topics. And also, we'd like to promote that we also have our live youth webinar sessions. Um, you can register at our website, www.letustalkit.com/youth. So you can check them out and give them support as well. And since we do not see any questions or any interactions, we'll have to do a closing remark. Again, thanks for everyone for the effort and the time you have given for the session. And if you wish to connect with our speakers and their works and their success, you can check their LinkedIn profile and send them a message. They're very responsive and really great persons. So again, we wish to see everyone again at the same time next Wednesday for two new topics and two new great speakers. So we're hoping you all stay safe and always in good health. Thank you so much, everyone, and we can end the session today.